For years, Danny Koker has been the face of Counting Cars, the hit reality show that brought the world inside the wild, high-octane world of Count's Customs in Las Vegas. With his signature bandana, booming laugh, and encyclopedic knowledge of classic cars and motorcycles, Danny quickly became a fan favorite. Viewers were drawn not just to his passion for restoration, but to his larger-than-life personality and the sense of family he fostered among his crew. But behind the scenes, Danny Koker's journey has been marked by heartbreak, loss, and a series of devastating challenges that few fans ever saw coming. The story of Danny Koker is not just about custom cars and television fame. It's about resilience in the face of adversity and the hidden struggles that can haunt even the most successful lives. Danny's love for cars and music was born early. The son of Daniel Koker Sr., a classically trained musician and baritone who performed with the Cathedral Quartet, Danny grew up surrounded by creativity and ambition. His father's influence was profound, instilling in him a love for both music and machines. By the time he was a teenager, Danny was already tinkering with engines and performing in local bands, dreaming of a life that would combine his two greatest passions. But even as he chased those dreams, tragedy struck the Koker family. Danny's father passed away in 2008, leaving a void that would never fully heal. The loss was a turning point for Danny, who has often spoken about the pain of losing his mentor and the pressure he felt to honor his father's legacy. Despite his grief, Danny threw himself into his work. He expanded Count's Customs, turning it into one of the most respected custom shops in the country. His reputation for honesty, craftsmanship, and creativity attracted clients from all over the world. And soon, the History Channel came calling. Counting Cars premiered in 2012, and Danny's life changed overnight. The show's success brought fame, fortune, and a new set of challenges. Suddenly, Danny was not just a business owner. He was a television star, responsible for entertaining millions of viewers while keeping his shop running smoothly. But fame came at a cost. The demands of filming, managing a growing business, and maintaining his personal life began to take a toll. Danny's marriage to Corey Koker, his longtime partner and co-owner of Count's Vamped Rock Bar and Grill, was tested by the pressures of celebrity and the relentless pace of their work. The couple faced rumors, public scrutiny, and the constant challenge of balancing their professional and personal lives. Through it all, Danny and Corey remained fiercely loyal to each other, drawing strength from their shared love of music and their commitment to their team. Yet, even as Danny's star continued to rise, new challenges emerged. The world of custom cars is notoriously unpredictable, and Count's Customs was not immune to financial setbacks, difficult clients, and the ever-present risk of burnout. Danny's perfectionism, while a key to his success, sometimes led to conflict with employees and friends. The pressure to deliver jaw-dropping builds on tight deadlines created tension in the shop, and Danny often found himself caught between his desire to please his fans and his need to protect his crew. Behind the scenes, Danny was also grappling with health issues that he kept private from the public. Years of long hours, stress, and the physical demands of his work began to catch up with him. Friends and colleagues noticed that he seemed more tired, more withdrawn, and less able to bounce back from setbacks. Danny, ever the showman, did his best to keep up appearances, but those closest to him worried about the toll his lifestyle was taking. The most devastating blow came when Danny lost several close friends and colleagues in quick succession. The deaths of beloved team members and fellow car enthusiasts left him reeling, forcing him to confront the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. These losses combined with the pressures of fame and business, pushed Danny to the brink. He began to question whether he could continue at the same pace and whether the sacrifices he had made were truly worth it. As the world watched Danny Koker on television, few realized the depth of the struggles he was facing. The man who seemed invincible on screen was, in reality, fighting battles that threatened to overwhelm him. But as he has done so many times before, Danny found a way to keep moving forward, drawing on the lessons of his past, the love of his family, and the support of his loyal fans. As Danny Koker pushed through the mounting pressures in his life, the cracks began to show in ways that even the most loyal fans couldn't ignore. The relentless pace of counting cars and the ever-growing demands of Count's Customs left little time for rest or reflection. Danny, who had always prided himself on being hands-on with every project, found himself stretched thinner than ever. The shop's reputation depended on his vision and leadership, but the weight of responsibility was becoming almost unbearable. One of the most devastating new details to emerge about Danny's recent years was the toll that stress and overwork took on his health. Friends and colleagues noticed that he was losing weight, struggling with chronic fatigue, and sometimes missing from the shop for days at a time. Rumors began to circulate about his well-being, with some speculating that Danny was facing serious medical issues. While Danny remained private about the specifics, those close to him confirmed that he had been hospitalized more than once due to exhaustion and complications related to stress. The health scares forced Danny to confront some hard truths. For years, he had put the needs of his business, his crew, and his fans ahead of his own well-being. He rarely took vacations, often worked late into the night, and felt a constant pressure to live up to the expectations of the counting cars audience. The fear of letting people down haunted him, and he struggled to find a balance between his passion for his work and the need to take care of himself. At the same time, the business itself was facing new challenges. The custom car industry is notoriously volatile, and Count's Customs was not immune to economic downturns, supply chain issues, and the changing tastes of clients. The COVID-19 pandemic hit the shop hard, forcing temporary closures and putting several high-profile projects on hold. Danny was forced to make difficult decisions, including laying off staff and scaling back operations. The pain of letting go of loyal team members weighed heavily on him, and he worried about the future of the business he had built from the ground up. Financial pressures were compounded by legal troubles. In recent years, Count's Customs has faced lawsuits from disgruntled clients and former employees, some of whom alleged breach of contract or unfair treatment. While many of these cases were settled quietly, the legal battles drained resources and added to the stress that Danny was already feeling. The public nature of the lawsuits also brought unwanted attention, with tabloids and online forums speculating about the shop's stability and Danny's ability to keep things afloat. Through it all, Danny's marriage to Koker was both a source of strength and a new challenge. The couple leaned on each other during the darkest times, but the strain of running multiple businesses and dealing with public scrutiny took its toll. There were rumors of separation and marital difficulties, though both Danny and Koker have publicly denied any plans to split. Still, the pressure was undeniable, and the couple had to work harder than ever to protect their relationship from the outside world. Despite these hardships, Danny refused to give up. He began to make changes in his life, prioritizing his health and well-being for the first time in years. He delegated more responsibilities at the shop, trusted his team to handle day-to-day operations, and took time off to recover from his health scares. Danny also reconnected with his love of music, performing with his band Count 77 and finding solace in the creative process. Music, which had always been a refuge for him, became a lifeline during the most difficult moments. Danny's journey through adversity has not been easy, and the devastating new details about his struggles have shocked many fans. But those who know him best say that he remains as passionate and determined as ever. He continues to inspire his crew, his fans, and anyone who has faced their own battles with loss, stress, or uncertainty. Danny Koker's story is a reminder that even the strongest among us can be brought to our knees by life's challenges. But it's also a testament to the power of resilience, love, and the courage to keep moving forward, no matter how dark the road may seem. As Danny Koker worked to rebuild his health and regain his footing, the emotional toll of the past few years became increasingly apparent. The losses he had suffered, both personal and professional, left deep scars that were not easily healed. For a man who had always been the rock for his team and his family, admitting vulnerability was one of the hardest things he'd ever done. But Danny knew that if he was going to move forward, he had to face his pain head on. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of Danny's recent journey was the loss of several close friends and longtime colleagues. The Count's Customs crew had always been more like a family than a group of employees, and the deaths of key team members hit Danny especially hard. Each loss was a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. Danny often spoke about the memories he shared with his friends, late nights in the shop, road trips to car shows, and the sense of camaraderie that made even the toughest days bearable. Their absence left a void that could never truly be filled. The grief was compounded by the pressure to keep the business running and the show on the air. Fans expected the same energy, humor, and passion that had made Counting Cars a hit, but behind the scenes, Danny was struggling to find joy in the work that had once been his greatest passion. He worried about letting people down, his crew, his fans, and the memory of his father, whose legacy he felt responsible for upholding. The weight of these expectations was overwhelming, and there were times when Danny considered stepping away from the spotlight altogether. But even in his darkest moments, Danny found reasons to keep going. The support of his wife Corey was invaluable, as was the encouragement of his remaining crew members. Together, they reminded him of the impact he had made, not just as a car builder and TV star, but as a mentor, a friend, and a source of inspiration for countless people around the world. Danny began to open up more about his struggles, both privately and publicly, hoping that his honesty would help others who were facing similar battles. In interviews and social media posts, Danny started to share more about the realities of running a business, dealing with loss, and coping with the pressures of fame. He spoke candidly about his health scares, the importance of self-care, and the need to ask for help when things became too much to handle alone. Fans responded with an outpouring of support, sharing their own stories of resilience and reminding Danny that he was not alone in his struggles. This new openness marked a turning point for Danny. He began to focus on what truly mattered: his health, his family, and the relationships that had sustained him through the hardest times. He scaled back his workload, spent more time with Corey, and made a conscious effort to reconnect with old friends and loved ones. Music once again became a source of healing, and Danny threw himself into performing with Count 77, finding joy in the creative process and the connection with his audience. At Count's Customs, Danny worked to foster a culture of support and understanding, He encouraged his team to take care of themselves, to speak up about their own challenges, and to prioritize their well-being over the demands of the business. The shop became not just a place to build cars, but a sanctuary where people could come together, share their struggles, and find strength in community. Despite the devastating new details that had come to light about his life, Danny Koker refused to be defined by tragedy. He saw every setback as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to help others who might be facing their own battles. His journey was far from over, and there were still many challenges ahead. But with the love of his family, the support of his crew, and the loyalty of his fans, Danny was determined to keep moving forward. One day, one car, and one song at a time. As Danny Koker continued to navigate the aftermath of loss and adversity, he found himself reflecting more deeply on the meaning of legacy. The passing of friends and the challenges to his own health had forced him to confront questions that many people spend a lifetime avoiding. What truly matters? What do we leave behind? For Danny, the answer was clear. It wasn't the cars, the fame, or even the success of Count's Customs. It was the relationships he had built, the lives he had touched, and the example he set for those who looked up to him. This new perspective began to shape every aspect of Danny's life. He became more intentional about how he spent his time, choosing to focus on the people and projects that brought him the most fulfillment. He and Corey made a point of carving out time for each other. Whether it was a quiet dinner at home or a weekend getaway to recharge, their marriage, tested by years of public scrutiny and professional stress, grew stronger as they learned to lean on each other and communicate more openly about their fears and hopes. At Count's Customs, Danny's leadership style evolved. He encouraged his team to pursue their own passions, to take risks, and to support one another through both triumphs and setbacks. He instituted new policies to promote work-life balance, offering flexible schedules and mental health resources to his employees. Danny knew firsthand how easy it was to get lost in the grind, and he wanted to create an environment where people felt valued not just for their skills, but for who they were as individuals. The changes at the shop did not go unnoticed. Morale improved, and the sense of camaraderie that had always defined Count's Customs was stronger than ever. The crew rallied around Danny, grateful for his honesty and inspired by his resilience. Together, they tackled new projects with renewed energy, taking on ambitious builds that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The shop's reputation for creativity and quality only grew, attracting clients from around the world who wanted to be part of the Count's Customs family. Outside of work, Danny became more involved in charitable efforts, using his platform to give back to the Las Vegas community. He organized fundraisers for local causes, donated to organizations supporting veterans and children, and volunteered his time at events throughout the city. For Danny, these acts of service were not just about giving money. They were about making a real difference in people's lives and honoring the memory of those he had lost. Music remained a constant source of healing and joy. Performing with Count 77 allowed Danny to express himself in ways that words alone could not. The band's shows became a celebration of life, resilience, and the power of coming together through art. Fans who attended the concerts often remarked on the sense of connection and positivity that Danny brought to the stage, even when singing about heartbreak and struggle. For Danny, music was both a release and a reminder that, no matter how tough things got, there was always something to look forward to. Despite the progress he had made, Danny knew that the road ahead would not be easy. The pressures of running a business, maintaining a public persona, and coping with personal loss were never far from his mind. But he faced each day with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to make the most of the time he had, and to inspire others to do the same. The devastating new details about Danny Koker's life had revealed a man who was far more complex than the television cameras ever showed. Beneath the bandana and the bravado was a person who had faced unimaginable pain, but who had also found the strength to keep going. Danny's story was no longer just about cars or reality TV. It was about the power of resilience, the importance of community, and the enduring hope that, even in the darkest times, it is possible to find light. As Danny Koker embraced this new chapter of his life, he found himself becoming a mentor not just to his crew, but to countless fans who looked up to him for guidance and inspiration. The messages he received from viewers, letters, emails, and social media posts often spoke of how his honesty about struggle and loss had helped others face their own challenges. Danny realized that his story, with all its ups and downs, had the power to make a real difference in the lives of people he might never meet. This realization fueled his desire to be even more open about his journey. Danny began speaking at events and on podcasts about the realities of fame, the importance of mental health, and the lessons he'd learned from adversity. He talked about the dangers of burnout, the need to set boundaries, and the value of asking for help. His willingness to be vulnerable resonated with people from all walks of life, many of whom saw in Danny a reflection of their own struggles and hopes. At Counts Customs, Danny's leadership continued to evolve. He encouraged his team to pursue their own dreams, whether that meant taking on side projects, learning new skills, or even starting their own businesses. He celebrated their successes and supported them through setbacks, always reminding them that the shop was more than just a workplace. It was a family. This culture of support and empowerment led to some of the most creative and ambitious builds in the shop's history, as team members felt free to take risks and push the boundaries of what was possible. Danny also became more involved in mentoring young people interested in the automotive industry. He partnered with local schools and vocational programs to offer internships and apprenticeships at Counts Customs, giving students hands-on experience and a chance to learn from some of the best in the business. For Danny, this was about more than just passing on technical skills. It was about teaching resilience, work ethic, and the importance of community. Outside of work, Danny and Corey continued to nurture their relationship, finding joy in the simple moments they shared together. They traveled when they could, explored new hobbies, and made time for the friends and family who had supported them through thick and thin. Their marriage, once tested by the pressures of fame and business, had become a source of strength and stability, a partnership built on trust, communication, and mutual respect. Music remained a central part of Danny's life. With Count 77, he found an outlet for his emotions and a way to connect with fans on a deeper level. The band's performances were more than just concerts. They were celebrations of survival, resilience, and the power of coming together through art. Danny often spoke from the stage about the challenges he'd faced, encouraging others to hold on to hope and to find their own sources of strength. As Danny reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. The devastating losses and hardships he had endured had taught him to appreciate every moment, to cherish the people in his life, and to never take anything for granted. He knew that there would always be new challenges ahead, but he faced the future with a sense of hope and determination that had been hard-won. Danny's story became a beacon for others, reminder that it's possible to rise from the ashes of tragedy, to find meaning in pain, and to use your experiences to help others. He continued to share his journey, not because it was easy, but because he knew that someone, somewhere, might need to hear that they weren't alone. As the world continued to change, Danny Koker remained a constant, a symbol of resilience, authenticity, and the enduring power of community. His legacy was no longer just about cars or television, but about the lives he touched and the hope he inspired. And as he looked to the future, Danny knew that, no matter what came next, he had already achieved something truly remarkable. He had turned his own heartbreak into a source of healing for others. As Danny Koker moved forward, the lessons of his journey became the foundation for a new kind of legacy. One built not just on custom cars and television fame, but on compassion, honesty, and the courage to face life's hardest truths. The devastating details that had once threatened to overshadow his story were now woven into a narrative of hope and transformation. Danny had learned, sometimes painfully, that true strength is not about never falling, but about getting back up, time and time again. The world of counting cars continued to evolve, but Danny's presence remained at its heart. Fans who visited Count's Customs in Las Vegas often remarked on the sense of warmth and welcome that filled the shop. Danny made it a point to greet visitors, share stories, and take time for photos, never forgetting that his success was built on the loyalty and support of people from all walks of life. For many, meeting Danny was more than just a celebrity encounter. It was a chance to connect with someone who had faced real struggles and come out the other side with humility and grace. Danny's openness about his battles with grief, health, and the pressures of fame inspired countless others to seek help and to speak openly about their own challenges. He became a vocal advocate for mental health awareness, partnering with organizations to provide resources and support for those in need. Through public speaking, interviews, and social media, Danny encouraged his fans to prioritize self-care, to reach out for help when needed, and to remember that no one has to face hardship alone. The impact of Danny's journey was felt far beyond the world of custom cars. His story resonated with people facing all kinds of adversity, loss, illness, financial hardship, or the simple struggle to find meaning in a chaotic world. Danny's message was clear: it's okay to be vulnerable, to ask for help, and to take time to heal. He reminded people that resilience is not about pretending to be invincible, but about finding the courage to keep going, even when the road is rough. At home, Danny and Corey continued to build a life rooted in love, laughter, and mutual support. They celebrated milestones, weathered setbacks, and found joy in the everyday moments that make life meaningful. Their relationship, once tested by the demands of business and fame, had become a partnership built on trust and understanding. Together, they looked to the future with hope, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. Music remained a source of healing and connection for Danny. With Count 77, he continued to perform, write new songs, and share his passion with audiences around the country. The band's shows were more than just entertainment. They were gatherings of community, places where people could come together to celebrate resilience, creativity, and the power of shared experience. For Danny, every performance was a reminder of the joy that could be found even in the midst of hardship. As Danny reflected on his journey, he felt a deep sense of gratitude for the people who had supported him along the way. His family, his crew, his fans, and the friends he had lost but never forgotten. He knew that life would always bring new challenges, but he faced the future with a sense of peace and purpose, that came from having survived the worst and found meaning in the struggle. The devastating new details about Danny Koker's life had once threatened to define him. But in the end, they became part of a larger story, a story of resilience, redemption, and the enduring power of hope. Danny's willingness to share his pain, to learn from his mistakes, and to use his experiences to help others had transformed his legacy from one of fame to one of inspiration. As the cameras continued to roll and the engines roared at Count's Customs, Danny Koker's true legacy was clear. He was more than just a car guy or a reality TV star. He was a survivor, a mentor, and a beacon of hope for anyone facing their own battles. And as he looked to the horizon, Danny knew that the road ahead, no matter how uncertain, was still worth traveling. 1 mile, 1 build, and 1 act of kindness at a time.